All right, everyone, a load of people have asked me to weigh in on this one, which is a new report that there's been, over the last 10 years, a major rise in the practice of witchcraft within the United States. Some people are getting it wrong. I'm going to dispel some rumors here and some myths, and also there is a caveat to this report. First and foremost, I'd say the fact that there are supposedly 1.5 million people practicing some variant of Wicca or paganism in the U.S., that's good. I like that. I think that more people should consider paganism. I think a lot of people just overlook it because they think it's cringy and they don't really know anything about it. Wicca, it depends on the variant. Some of it's basically feminists dancing around the fire and stuff. In all honesty, some of it is like pink-haired metros and stuff. At other times it is more authentic, of course, with the caveat again that Wicca in its actual modern form, it doesn't really take off of ancient traditions. That's actually a joke. It was Gardner wanting to look at naked titties. But here's what I would say as some caveats and as an explanatory thing here. First is the same point. A lot of people that practice Wicca or paganism are not actually practicing it in a literalistic sense. That is, they'll say, well, I'm a pagan. Oh, really? What do you believe in? I don't know. I wear Thor's hammer. Praise Odin. And that's basically the sum and substance of their pagan beliefs. They don't actually do any ritualism. They don't delve into maybe the understanding the historical side of paganism. In some cases, it's pan-paganism. Like, I would fit into this. I'm not saying, well, I'm a pagan, I practice the Norse religion in the literal sense. I'm a pagan, I practice Hellenism and worship Zeus or something. I don't do that. My interest in it is partially academic and partially actual practice. It goes beyond that, though, because I'm an occultist in the more broad sense. It intermixes with that. I've got more of, essentially the closest approximation is technically theosophy, when you really think about it, as far as the way that I practice. It's more eclectic, and I don't see a problem with that. It's like, for a while there was a big debate going on among the Wiccan and pagan views. Oh, should we be mixing pantheons? Is it okay to say Hail Jesus and Hail Odin? And I'm like, yeah, do what you want. Do you believe in these figures or these powers or whatever you think they are? Go a fucking head and do whatever you want. Make up your own rituals. People did thousands of years ago. So someone made up a ritual 2,000 years ago. That makes it better than a ritual that was made up last week? No, of course not. It depends. Why don't you experiment and see what works for you and then determine your path? So that's one caveat, is that some of these people don't even really understand even Wicca or modern paganism, let alone the more historical sense. The second caveat is you've got to understand, I've spoken of the trifecta: religion, theism, and spirituality. A lot of these people lack one or more of these components. That is, their religion, they'll list their religion as Wicca. They're like, I'm a Wiccan, I believe in Wicca. And maybe they do the rituals in a spiritual context, but they don't really literally believe in the goddess or the horned god or something. Okay, well then they're technically atheistic, or at least agnostic or apatheistic. They're spiritual, they're a member of that religious movement, a coven or something. Or they could be very individualistic. They're like, yeah, spiritually I'm a Wiccan, I believe in the goddess and all that, but I'm not going to join your coven. Fuck that shit, I'm a hedge Wiccan. So there are a lot of people that are irreligious within that group. Then there are people that are members, and they believe maybe in the theistic powers, but they don't believe in all the spells and hexes and stuff, and they're anti-spiritualistic while being religious or theistic in some sense. So the trifecta is still very much at work. Now this happens within any religion. There are many, many Christians that are also atheistic. They don't literally believe in a God at all, but they go to church, they pray, they have some belief in the spiritual or metaphysical power of Christianity, but ultimately at the end of the day don't really believe in the God. And there are a lot of Christians, especially Catholics, that are cultural. And so they go to church as a sort of social expectation. It's like, well, my parents always took us to church, and their parents, back 2,000 fucking years. I'm not going to break, the cycle now. I'm just going to go to church. Plus, I get a little bit of wine. It's fun. I get my extra 5 calories of alcohol. And then I chug the rest of the bottle with the priest after the service. It's like a great time. It's like, you don't even understand how much that dude can put away. They're constantly finding missing bottles in the inventory. No, you have this all the time within any religion. I've spoken to people that are Islamic. They'll say, hey, I'm Muslim. But no, I don't believe in any of this bullshit. I'm not spiritual. I don't go to the mosque. They believe in Allah, and they call themselves a Muslim for cultural reasons, and that's really their religion. The same is true with Wicca and paganism. A lot of people that I've met that say, well, I'm a Wiccan, or so, especially among Wiccans, I would say. Ultimately, they don't really believe in it. They're doing it's cool. or it's a way to meet friends, or get tail, basically. Or they just find it interesting. They think that it's traditional. They don't really know, again, the historicity or something. Now, this isn't to denigrate it. I think it's a great thing. If you look at the actual teachings of Wicca, or of most paths within paganism, they're very positive. I happen to be on the conservationist, environmentalist side. I do believe in some degree of animal rights. The sort of social beliefs that tend to be associated with it, some of them go off the rails. It's like, in the primordial sense, Wicca is basically, well, males and females have their own roles. They'll be treated preferentially within those roles, but they conjoin. They're equals. There are certain elements of third waveism, though, within Wicca that are like basically man-hating. There are elements like that. It's basically the rough counterpart to some of the movement, like maybe the Westboro Baptists or something. Yeah, they're technically fundamentalist progressives. It's very strange. So yeah, and another caveat would be a lot of these groups are politicized at this point. This is also within Satanism, like the Temple of Satan there within Oklahoma. I think that's what they're called, with their statue there. They basically exist as a real-life legal LARP, sort of like, ironically, the Westboro Baptist trying to sue people. You get that. Satanism is atheistic in its strictest sense. You also get actual devil worshippers, although they're very, very rare. And so we've got to understand, just because you call yourself a pagan, what does that actually mean? There are a million different variants of paganism. Some of these groups, like a Zoroastrian, technically speaking, would fall under the larger header of paganism. What you should do is split that apart, and Wicca too. It's like there are different paths within Wicca. A solitary hedge witch is not the same thing as someone who practices sort of the higher rituals of the authentic, original path of Gardnerian Book of Shadows or something. There's a big difference between the two. They're like totally different spiritual paths. The beliefs are different. The fundamental basis is the same, but look, that's like saying, well, the fundamental basis for Christianity and Judaism is similar, therefore they're the same thing. Why are you differentiating them? Well, if you're using the header of Abrahamism, that makes sense, but that also includes Islam and Mormonism. I don't think that they like to be lumped together. The same is true of paganism. So what I would say, and also I would say to people, I've seen some people that are like hyper-religious responding, they're like, oh my God, see, we're living in the end times. Yeah, okay, that may be your opinion. I'm sure that some of the more zealous political commentators would like to make that argument. I don't know, dude. Antiquity seemed like a pretty great place to be. Western civilization was already built long before Christianity existed. I would love to debate anybody on that topic. They keep telling me that Western civilization doesn't exist until like the late Roman Empire. No, that's called, when they collapsed, called the Dark Ages for a lot of European pan-Western culture. Then they skip right to the Renaissance for the most part. They'll talk about Charlemagne, and then it's the Renaissance. Like 1,000 years of history suddenly disappear. Yeah, they weren't living in squalor when 99% of the population was illiterate and had dirt floors and no plumbing. That never happened. It didn't. There are actually people, by the way, historical revisionists, who claim there was never a Dark Ages and that it's just the scrubbing of history at the time due to low printing of literature. What about that Black Death? Oh, it never happened. Yeah. By the way, that affected the everyone else in the world. A lot of people don't talk about the fact that it originated over in like China. So actually, their population collapsed long before Europe's did. It's an interesting time to think about. That's about all. Peace out.